ultimately what happened with Bernier is we were talking about a merge. He was all gung-ho for it, and one of the reasons he was gung-ho for it was because he felt like at that time he didn't have a party status yet. He couldn't issue tax receipts or whatever for his members, and he thought the merge would really help with his fundraising. And I looked at it as, okay, this is, I'd always kind of had hopes that Bernier could be Canada's Ron Paul, right? Ron Paul is a big hero of mine. He's kind of like the standard that I want to, just total principle down the line, come hell or high water. He was never going to, you're never going to whip a vote out of that guy. He was voting his principles consistently, and I really admired that about Ron Paul, and I was hoping Bernier could be that. Now, I don't know what caused me to believe that. I mean, he spent 2.5 years in Parliament, voting establishment status quo stuff, anti-liberty stuff, corporate bailouts. He was in charge of supply management. He bombed Libya. He supported ramping up the drug war, prohibiting gay marriage. All those things are anti-libertarian things.
UN Parliamentary Assembly.
Sure, but in my mind, I thought, okay, well, he just had to vote that way. But then, now that I think about it, it's like Ron Paul would never have been whipped into voting. He would have rather have lost his seat and got kicked out of Parliament, got kicked out of caucus, than ever, vote any of those things. So I guess I was a little bit blinded. I think a lot of people were a little bit blinded by what Max could promise to be, or what we thought he could be for the liberty movement. So that was my incentive to say. In fact, I had offered Bernier right after he lost CPC leadership. I offered him my spot as leader of the Libertarian Party of Canada. I thought he could elevate it. I thought nothing better than a libertarian politician that has a seat and has all the time in the world and the resources to take this to the next level. So that was my hope with Bernier, and of course, he kind of let us down. So I was still clinging on to that hope when we were talking about the merge, and it looked like we were in the final stages. He was going to get me paperwork the following week. He had agreed to get me some paperwork to seal the deal on the merge. We needed a few articles to make sure that he was going to stick to principles and that sort of thing. He told me he was going to get it, and then he ghosted me. And he had told, from what I had heard from someone that worked closely with him, that had asked Bernier about the merge, he said, we got what we needed from the Libertarians.
So what was that?
Well, I mean, I can only speculate, but by that point, because there had been so much energy behind this, and our members were getting excited that, okay, we were maybe taking this to the next level, a lot of our members bought PPC memberships. We had key organizers and vice presidents and communications people jumping ship over to the PPC. And then the merge didn't happen, and he had basically captured all those people and essentially left our party sort of decimated, right? So that to me, it was a lesson learned, right? This is the reality of establishment politics, that quite often handshakes and what you think are verbal agreements don't hold weight. If you can get ahead by breaking these agreements, I guess that's what you do in politics, and that's probably why I'm not a very successful politician at the end of the day. But so
what I heard, that you wanted to be leader, and he didn't want to go through a leader.
Well,
I don't know whether that was a spin by him.
Well, so there's speculation, right? So the week leading up to that. Between our last conversation and where he ghosted me, I'd gone on a couple radio shows and said, well, first of all, I'm not a huge fan of the name, but as long as they have principles that we subscribe to, I can get behind it. The name is less relevant than the principles. And I also said I would love the opportunity to challenge Bernier for leadership. I said this on air. Didn't know whether it was going to happen or not, and it wasn't that I wanted to be leader of the party, quite the opposite. I was happy to step back and let someone else carry the torch for a while, but I felt it was necessary to have a leadership debate and contest because to get the party on the right track. He had a lot of sins against liberty that he needed to atone to, and I wanted to hold his feet to the fire on those and give him the opportunity to say that he regretted those votes, that he had saw the light and he turned a new leaf, and now he was Team Liberty all the way. That was what my hope was, and so you could speculate that it was my comment on the radio that soured it. You could speculate that based on what his right-hand man was saying, that he got what he wanted from the Libertarians, that he basically didn't need us anymore. You could speculate. I know he told one of my supporters that asked him whatever happened to the merge. He told that supporter that we had a disagreement on the platform, which is a lie as far as I can tell. We never talked about the platform. In fact, we had adopted Max's platform as a political stunt. So at the time, we had his identical platform on our website as our platform. So that doesn't hold any weight for me. I don't think that. But, at the end of the day, for whatever reason, he left us high and dry, and
That's
we're
probably
picking
a
up
good
the
thing,
pieces.
right?
Well, yes, in hindsight, I think it's probably a good thing that we avoided the merge, seeing, the direction he's kind of taking it is not the direction I would have liked to have seen it go. He's at the end of the day, my assessment of Max, and I think Scheer hit on this in the debate, right? Bernier said to Scheer in the debate, how can you call yourself a conservative, right? And Scheer shot back, which Maxime Bernier is speaking right now? Is it the 90s separatist Max? Is it the supply management minister Max, who was in charge of supply management? Is it the guy who supported all these bailouts and the things? Which Max am I speaking to, right? Yeah. And Max has a history of continually kind of adjusting his policies based on what's going to serve Max. Yeah. And in the CPC leadership debate, or leadership contest, we flew Max to Calgary. We connected him with people. We said, you can have a lot of support with a libertarian platform in Western Canada. And he established himself as Libertarian Max in that leadership race. And you notice there was populist Kelly Leach, who was basically proposing the same policies Max says now about values tests and a hardcore immigration cap. And he was very, very critical of that at the time. But now he's embraced those policies. So now he's more like populist Max than he is Libertarian Max. So he is adjusting his policy based on what he needs to do to get ahead. And it makes sense in this environment. Right now there's a rising populist sentiment. People are tired of the establishment. They're tired of globalism. All the things you spoke about tonight at the debate. People, and that's the most disenfranchised bunch. So if you want to get votes, you speak to those people, you're going to get some votes. So, but he hasn't been that. He hasn't been consistent.
He's got no integrity.
Well,
has no meaning.
Yeah. Has
no meaning because when he gets in, who's going to be in, right?
Right.
He's not going to get in. But
and so here's my prediction.
But where's the principles?
Well, that's it.
There are no
the
principles.
principle is I need to get votes, and from what I've heard from some of his people inside that have left the party and kind of discussed is that his primary focus is on hurting Scheer more than anything right now. But whether that's their take on it. I don't know how. I always take these things with a grain of salt when people leave an organization, right? But I think what I would predict here is one of two things is going to happen with the PPC. They're either going to get increasing support and more people jumping on board because they're sick of the other parties, in which case Max is again going to adjust his policies based on what's going to make his supporters happy and what's going to get him the most votes. And then that means that his party will become more centrist. They'll essentially become what the CPC is right now. Yeah. And you remember this happened back in the 90s with the Reform Party, right? Yeah. Libertarians jumped on board, hopped in with the reforms, and were like, yes, this is going. And then they merged with the CPC and reformed the CPC when the conservative parties all got together. And again, libertarians got sucked in. Harper's going to be very libertarian, and they got suckered again and used and abused and then spit out, and Harper basically disavowed him. That's going to happen with Max because that's what has to happen when you're trying to get as many votes as possible. And so my tact is different. I want to shift culture because I think that government is downstream from culture. And the only way to get the limited government I want is to connect people with these ideas. And we need a culture that says we want liberty or death. And that's how you get a limited government, because then all the politicians that want to get votes, like Max, have to adopt that policy. Right now, he has to adopt whatever crappy cultural memes can't Canadians have? And most Canadians want lots of government, and they want lots of free stuff, and they want lots of security. They don't want dangerous liberty. So Max is going to have to adjust his policy over time to accommodate that culture. So I don't see the principle here in Max, and that's, I guess, I'm just more disappointed than anything.
It's too bad. It's too bad. But the information was there, Tim.
What's that?
About Bernie.
What information?
His past.
No
ties to the Montreal Economic Institute.
Right.
Which is operated through the Desmarais family, the wife.
Right.
Runs that.
I didn't know.
Which is tied to the Power Corporation.
Right.
So he has direct ties to the Power Corporation. They're globalists.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Okay. He has ties to the Koch brothers through the Montreal Economic Institute, which is part of the Atlas Network, which is funded in the millions by the Koch brothers. They support globalist trade, open borders for cheap foreign workers to come in. Those are facts.
Yeah.
And they don't want to hear it. Our issue with this guy, we don't really give a damn about him. We hope he loses. Because we view ourselves as true populists, nationalists, whether you agree with that or not. But they've been stealing our slogans.
Right.
They've been stealing our policy briefs. We've actually had people from the party, candidates, come over to us and tell us that. And we see it.
Right.
We view him as a globalist libertarian. I don't know if that's a contradiction in terms.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's how we view him.
I mean, I look at globalism, I differentiate globalism from globalization, right?
I don't want to
Yeah.
I don't want to malign libertarian,
No.
but that's how we view him.
Right.
Because he has a globalist side. If you look at his trade policy, it's all about TPP, globalist trade with China, globalist trade with India.
Yeah.
He's supporting Kanzak now, and so did the Conservatives. You know about Kanzak?
No.
So this is like the EU, but it's a Commonwealth Union. Basically, it'll be almost like a huge bureaucracy controlling all these countries, open borders.
Yeah.
So anyone from Pakistan, India, Bangladesh can just freely move into Canada.
Right.
And the purpose of it is to protect the liberal international order, the UN, the World Bank, IMF, all these institutions.
Yeah, like I said, at the end of the day,
Libertarians don't support that, do they?
No, I mean those are global. You know, we were against the TPP. Like there are aspects.
But this guy's a crook as far as we're concerned. We view him as a crook. He's
Yeah.
lying. He's all out for himself.
He's an establishment politician, right? He's doing what he needs to do to get.
But he's just out for himself, right?
I mean, that's what I guess what you have to do to be successful.
No, but there's
in politics, right?
we're principle based.
Yeah.
That's where we have similarity with libertarian.
I'm obviously willing to throw away all the votes to have
Yeah, we don't
integrity
care.
and
No, for
maintain
us, it's all
principle,
about
right?
our values.
Yeah.
We're willing to listen to other people and debate, and if someone has better ideas, we will adopt them, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's how we operate. That's the way it has to be. Otherwise, you're just floating all over the place. It's all about power.
Yeah.
It's not about the people.
Yeah.
End of the day, it's just about power.
Right.
Their power. This guy's the problem. Realize it. He is the problem. That there's power-hungry people who are just out for themselves.
Yeah.
We are his worst nightmare, and I'm sure the libertarian. And I was thinking about this about you guys. And I said the best thing you could do is stay true. If you cave in, you would have lost everything.
Yeah.
Just like the reform.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
That's what I thought from a distance, Tim.
Yeah, it was.
And I thought it's going to hurt you guys, but in the long run, you're going to be better off.
Yeah, we're going to keep slogging along. I mean, we've done this for 45 years, and we're.
They hate us, by the way.
I can imagine.
Yeah, they hate us because we're true.
Yeah.
We're not lying. We're not a charlatan that's pretending. So these are the people we got to get rid of. The Berniers of the world. He was smoozing We've done a lot of research on this guy. He was, you know, one of his directors was working with George Soros.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard.
Yeah, you heard about that.
Yeah.
This guy was smoozing at the Davos.
Hmm.
This is all globalist there, right? He went there in 2008. He's been trough feeding for 10 years. You know that, right?
Yeah, I mean,
He was fast tracked to a minister within 1 year of becoming MP. You know why?
Why?
Power Corporation, Ray family.
Yeah, he has connections for sure.
You know the billboard scam?
Yeah.
Do you know what was behind that?
What?
Communist China.
How so? Explain this to me.
There's a mining company in the north. They wanted someone to fund the extraction. Communist China. Bernie, through the Power Corporation, is all about China and their interests. They're funding Bernie. This mining company.
Yeah.
He's pushing that. So they can come here and steal our resources.
Well, and here's the thing.
That's what's going on.
Here's the difference.
You know this guy Sean Melville is exposed to.
Great.
He's done great work.
I wasn't aware of that. I mean,
so this is some of the, but we think people need to know the truth, right?
Yeah. Well, and you know that at the end of the day, the difference between Bernier and us is that, well, and for myself anyways, I'm a career firefighter. And so for me, it's almost a worst case scenario if I get elected, because I don't think I'm going to last more than a term before people boot me out when they're not getting their free stuff. And when I get booted out, my stock as a firefighter has declined by 4 years. I'm not more physically capable after sitting on my ass for 4 years in Parliament. I'm not able to boot in the doors. I'm not able to do my job as well. A guy like Bernier and most of these career politicians, when they leave office for whatever reason, they've established connections. Their stock has risen huge. They have all these connections that they can enrich themselves and they can flourish. And guys like you and me, we're poor for having. But that, you know, that's how politics used to be. It used to be seen as a burden, as a chore. You would do your duty by going to Parliament, and you would suck it up, and you would try to arrange your business and everything else to run while you were there. But it sucked because you knew everything at the home front was taking a hit by you going to do your duty and serve the people. But now it's like you're going there to get enriched.
Exactly.
And it's going to, that enrichment is going to continue, and it's at the expense.
Well, look at Harper. He went right into a boardroom. His ministers went in there. Bernier's tied to the Power Corporation. If he loses, he'll go straight into the Power Corporation.
He will not suffer. And he's got.
And you know Mulroney, eh? He's tied to the Power Corporation, and he used to work for them.
Sure. So what you're saying is I need to get a job with the Power Corporation?
No. Continue your path. What we're doing is integral.
Yeah.
And it's going to help our country. We, Tim, mistake not, principled people with values who want to do what's best for the country are their worst nightmare.
I agree. You know, I hear all the time.
They want us to go away, Tim.
Infiltrate.
Tim, they want us to go away.
Yeah.
We are their worst nightmare. They're afraid of us. They're so afraid of us, Tim, they censor us. The media vilifies us. We have Antifa running after us. We're not in we're censored from local debates even. Right?
Yeah.
That's fear.
Well, I mean.
So keep up, stay true. I
appreciate it.
I'm really glad what you guys did, because you guys would have been done. You would have been just like Reform. It would have been over.
Could be.
Because it's got to be about values and principles. It has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Yep. Cool.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Yeah, good
Appreciate
stuff.
it.